Welcome to HFY Galaxies, where humanity's spirit shines brightest among the stars. Today, we dive deep into a story that changed everything, a story of broken ships, alien secrets, and the unique human touch that no one expected. Why do some of the most advanced alien captains travel across light years just to get repairs from Earth? What makes Terran engineers so special that they don't just fix ships, they transform them? Stay with us as we explore the hidden truths behind the Terran repair crews, the ancient technologies that breathe and learn, and a new era forged from hope and defiance. By the end, you might see humanity and the galaxy in a whole new light. Don't forget to share your thoughts below. What part surprised you the most? What questions do you have about this unfolding galactic saga? Let's start the conversation. Far above the quiet curve of Earth, where light meets the endless black, a single station floated, Terran Station Aegis, alone and alert among the stars. It was small by galactic standards. Old, even. Its metal walls bore the marks of time, repairs upon repairs, patched like a ship that had weathered too many storms. No gleaming towers. No alien design. Just a ring of metal and energy, circling a world most species still called young. And yet, they came. Not to conquer. Not to teach. But to ask for help. They, the ancients of the stars, beings of brilliance, born of suns and time, had ships so vast they could eclipse moons, minds that spoke in quantum dreams, and tools that bent matter like clay. They had no need for Terrans. And yet, they came. To Rena Solis. To the engineers of Earth. To a people still learning how to walk among the stars. Why? What did they see in us so strange, so imperfect, so painfully human? No one could answer at first. Not even Rena. But that single question would grow like a spark in dry grass. It would spread across systems, shift alliances, and awaken secrets long buried in the cold silence of space. Everything changed the moment they knocked on our door. And it began, with a whisper through the void. The engineering bay of Terran Station Aegis felt like a universe unto itself, a cluttered realm alive with the quiet hum of machinery and the gentle whisper of well-worn panels. Every inch was crammed with tools, tangled cables snaking through the shadows like restless vines, and consoles that flickered softly, their lights casting wavering patterns on walls aged by years of oil stains and sweat. The air was thick and warm, carrying the sharp, metallic scent of circuits and burnt components, a constant reminder of the ceaseless repairs and tireless hands that had kept the station alive through countless trials. Amidst this quiet chaos, Rena Solis sat alone, her figure slumped but resolute. The exhaustion weighed on her body like a heavy cloak, each muscle aching from 16 relentless hours bent over endless streams of maintenance logs and demanding systems. Her eyes, bloodshot and raw from strain, reflected the pale, bluish glow of the console before her, its cold light a stark contrast to the warmth and weariness that filled her chest. Slowly, she leaned back in her chair, releasing a long, weary breath that seemed to carry the burden of the day deep within her soul. In that moment, the silence wrapped around her like a fragile sanctuary, a brief pause in the endless march of time aboard the station. Outside the narrow window beside her, the vastness of space stretched endlessly, but her gaze was fixed on something much closer and infinitely more fragile: Earth. The planet hung like a delicate blue marble, spinning silently against the ink-black canvas of the cosmos. Clouds drifted lazily over oceans and continents, their soft edges glowing faintly under the distant stars. From here, Earth seemed untouched by the turmoil of its inhabitants, a peaceful oasis in a universe of chaos. Rena's mind wandered, drawn to the mysteries that lay beyond that fragile orb. She thought of the ancient civilizations that had risen and fallen among the stars, the empires that had shaped the galaxy's fate long before humanity had learned to venture beyond its cradle. She wondered why those powerful beings, creatures of unimaginable technology and wisdom, had chosen to send their ships to this worn station, to rely on human hands and minds for repairs. The question lingered unanswered. Why come here? Why trust the imperfect, unpolished work of a small crew from a young world? Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft creaking, the station's metal frame settling after hours of work. It was a reminder of how fragile this place truly was, an aging sentinel guarding a world still learning to stand among the stars. And then, breaking the stillness like a bolt of lightning, came the piercing sound of the emergency alarm. It shattered the quiet with relentless urgency, sending a ripple of adrenaline through Rena's veins. Her heart raced as the weight of what was coming pressed down on her. The night, the stars, the endless void beyond, they all seemed to hold their breath, waiting. Rena rose from her chair with renewed purpose, ready to face whatever challenge had arrived. The course of everything was about to change. The silence that surrounded Rena was thick, almost sacred, as if the very walls of the station were holding their breath alongside her. The only sound that pierced the stillness was the gentle, rhythmic hum of the station's power core, a low, steady pulse that seemed to beat in time with her own racing heart. In that fleeting moment, the world outside faded away, leaving only the fragile calm of the station and the steady breath of machinery that kept it alive. Then, almost without thinking, Rena turned toward the window beside her desk. Outside, Earth hung suspended like a delicate jewel set against the vast, endless blackness of space. Wisps of swirling clouds drifted silently over the planet's endless oceans and sprawling continents, bathed in the soft, distant glow of faraway stars. From this lofty vantage point, Earth seemed untouched and serene, its storms and chaos hidden beneath a tranquil blue veil that held the weight of countless untold stories. Her gaze lingered on that silent beauty, drawing her thoughts outward beyond the peaceful planet to the ancient worlds scattered across the galaxy. She imagined empires that had stretched across light years, civilizations born from the fire of dying suns, and countless travelers who had roamed the stars long before humanity had even learned to take its first hesitant steps beyond the cradle of Earth. Why had these mighty beings, with all their power and knowledge, turned their eyes toward Earth? Why had they chosen to come to a small, aging station like Aegis, barely up to code, patched together with little more than hope and stubborn resolve, rather than grandeur and glory? Rena didn't have the answers. No one did. Not yet. The station groaned softly, a tired, creaking sound that rippled through its metal frame like a weary breath, a reminder of its own fragile existence in the vastness of space. Then, without warning, the fragile calm shattered. A sharp, urgent alarm burst through the silence, pulsing fiercely through the walls and rattling the stillness like a sudden tempest. It sliced through the quiet with the force of a thunderclap, setting nerves on edge and hearts pounding. Rena's breath caught. Her heart jumped in her chest as the charged moment hung heavy in the air, filled with a strange electricity, as if the very atmosphere was holding its breath, waiting for what was to come. She rose from her chair, every step now filled with sharp purpose and steady resolve. The night around her, the stars scattered across the infinite darkness, and the endless void beyond, they were no longer the same. Something was coming. Something that would change everything. The blaring alarm still pulsed faintly in Rena's ears as she rushed through the narrow, twisting corridors of Terran Station Aegis. Each footstep echoed softly against the cold, unforgiving metal walls, carrying the weight of a sudden urgency that seemed to grip every corner of the station. The usual steady hum of machinery had shifted. It felt tighter, strained, almost like the station itself was holding its breath, waiting for what was to come. When she reached the control room, the space inside was alive with flickering screens casting pale light onto focused faces. Voices were hushed but tense, weaving a quiet web of communication that pulsed with determination. Fingers moved swiftly and expertly over holographic controls, manipulating streams of data that flowed like rivers of light. The air buzzed with concentration, a charged atmosphere thick with anticipation. At the center of it all stood Havencore, the station's director. A man whose calm, steady presence had always been a rock for those around him. Yet now, as Rena's eyes met his, she saw something rare, a sharpness, a flicker of urgency in his gaze that unsettled even the veteran engineer. His expression was serious, lined with the weight of the unknown challenge that had just arrived. Without a word, Haven turned to her, his voice low but firm. The moment held an unspoken understanding. Whatever was coming, it demanded their full attention and their best efforts. "We've got an unplanned visitor," Haven said, voice low but steady. "A Virelian scout ship is requesting emergency docking clearance. They are damaged and desperate." Rena's brow furrowed. The Virelians were a proud species, their home system several light years away. They had 3 advanced repair stations much closer than Aegis. It made no sense that they would divert here, especially now, with galactic tensions simmering. "Why come here?" she whispered, mostly to herself. Haven's gaze met hers. "That's exactly what I want you to find out. Bay 3 is ready. Get there fast." Without hesitation, Rena sprinted toward the repair bay. Her heart thudded loudly in her chest, not from fatigue, but from a strange mix of anticipation and unease. When she arrived, the massive doors hissed open, revealing the damaged ship resting on the cold bay floor. It was smaller than she had imagined, but every inch of its sleek green hull told a story of fierce battles and hard survival. Deep gashes marred the side, metal bent and scorched, like a scar across the warrior's face. The hatch slid open with a hiss, and a figure stepped out. Tall. 4 arms folded calmly at his sides. His exoskeleton shimmered with a deep emerald hue, segmented like the armor of a giant beetle. His eyes, many and compound, surveyed the room with a calm intelligence. This was Captain Veltrix of the Virelian Guild, a being whose presence seemed to fill the space with quiet authority. "Greetings," his voice came through a translator clipped to his collar, the words deliberate, respectful. "I am Captain Veltrix. Thank you for permitting us entry." Rena found herself studying him, the careful precision of his movements, the subtle clicks of his mandibles, the weight of responsibility etched in every line of his posture. She nodded, steadying her voice. "Welcome, Captain. I'm Rena Solis. We'll do everything we can to help." Veltrix's gaze softened slightly, as if appreciating more than just her words. "Our warp stabilizer was critically damaged in a debris field near the Echo Zeta sector. Our sensors failed to detect the danger in time." Rena stepped closer, eyes scanning the ship's wounds. "That explains the scars. But why bypass your own repair stations? You have facilities far more advanced than ours." Veltrix's mandibles clicked softly in what seemed like contemplation. "Your repair methods have a reputation. Not just for restoring ships, but for improving them. My fellow captains speak highly of the Terran touch." Confusion flickered across Rena's face. "We do what we can with what we have. It's not advanced, but it works." The alien's eyes reflected something deeper, a respect mingled with wonder. "And that," he said, "is why we come here. Because your way is different." For a moment, the bustling hum of the station seemed to fade away, leaving only the weight of unspoken questions lingering in the air. Rena inhaled slowly. She felt the stirring of something greater than routine repairs, a challenge, a mystery, and perhaps, the first step toward a new destiny. Rena's gaze held on the battered hull of the alien ship, her eyes following the deep scars that marred its emerald surface like the wounds of a seasoned warrior. Each dent, each gouge, whispered as silent story tales of chaos and desperate survival in the merciless expanse of space. The ship lay cold and still in the quiet bay, yet Rena felt as if she could hear the faint murmur of shattered metal and fractured circuits beneath her fingertips, as though the vessel itself remembered the fury it had faced. Breaking the heavy silence, her voice was calm but filled with quiet curiosity. What caused the damage? Captain Veltrix stood tall and composed before her, his many eyes reflecting the weight of countless journeys through star systems ancient beyond human reckoning. His mandibles clicked softly, a thoughtful rhythm that seemed to echo the solemnity of the moment. Finally, he spoke, his words slow and heavy, as though carrying the weight of a nightmare. "A metal storm," he said. The phrase lingered between them, dark and foreboding. It tore through Sector Echo Zeta without warning. The storm's debris battered our hull, and the warp stabilizer, our very heart for faster-than-light travel, was critically compromised. The gravity of his confession hung in the air, a stark reminder of the dangers lurking in the silent void, and of the fragile thread by which their lives now hung. Rena felt a flicker of understanding awaken within her. The cosmos was a place of endless peril, dark voids where dangers hid unseen and countless threats lurked in silence. Among these, metal storms were notorious violent clouds of cosmic debris that could tear ships apart in an instant, shattering steel and scattering lives like dust. Entire vessels had vanished without a trace, swallowed by these invisible storms in a blink of an eye. Yet beneath the gravity of Veltrix's words, there was something more, a hesitation, a subtle shift that drew her attention like a distant signal through static. "But despite the danger, we sought you." His compound eyes, usually sharp and guarded, softened for a fleeting moment, revealing a hint of reverence and something almost like awe. "Your kind repairs differently?" The phrase struck her like a sudden spark in the dark age-old of curiosity and wonder that pulsed deep within her chest. "Differently? In what way?" Veltrix stepped closer, his presence both commanding and respectful, like a warrior honoring a worthy opponent. "Not merely restored," he said slowly, each word carefully measured, but reinvented. "Transformed." Rena's heart quickened, caught in the web of mystery woven by that simple phrase. It spoke of more than just fixing what was broken. It hinted at something greater, a power to reshape, to make stronger, better, beyond the original design. It was a promise of change, of evolution. For a moment, the steady hum of the station faded away, leaving only the quiet connection between two beings from vastly different worlds, sharing a truth beyond words and language. At first, she told herself it might be kind words, flattery, perhaps, from a proud alien captain grateful for unexpected aid. But deep inside, a knowing stirred. This was far more than praise. It was a glimpse, a whisper of the path ahead, of secrets waiting patiently to be unraveled. This was not just a repair job. It was the beginning of something that could change the fate of stars. The stabilizer, the fragile heart of the alien ship, was beyond anything Rena had seen before. It lay damaged, torn apart by forces far stronger than the quiet hum of her station. No standard parts matched its complex design. No simple fix could breathe life back into what was broken. But Rena did not surrender to doubt or despair. Giving up was never an option for her, not when so much depended on her hands and mind. She gathered everything Earth had to offer, strong alloys born from fires and dreams, crafted in the depths of human industry. With tireless patience, she melted these materials into the core of the stabilizer, weaving strength into its shattered framework. She restructured the invisible currents of energy that flowed like veins through the device, coaxing harmony from chaos. Day turned into night, and night back into day. For 3 long days, Rena and her team worked. Her fingers were raw, her body heavy, but her spirit burned bright with determination. When the moment came to test her work, the entire station seemed to hold its breath. The soft hum of the power conduits grew louder, pulsing like the heartbeat of a living thing. Rena stared at the glowing readout, her breath catching in her throat. The numbers rose, then steadied. "Captain," she called out, her voice steady but laced with wonder, "the output is 112% of the original." Veltrix's many eyes widened in astonishment, reflecting the impossible. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a gesture of amazement and delight among his kind. "Incredible," he whispered. "Your repairs, they do not merely restore. They transcend. They become something new. Something better." Without hesitation, Veltrix sent a radiant beacon across the vast network of the Galactic Concord. A glowing testament to the Terran skill that had mended his ship beyond its original glory. Along with it came a payment 3 times greater than what had been promised. News of the miracle spread quickly. From that moment forward, they came. From distant stars and shadowed sectors, ships arrived one after another, drawn by stories of the Terran touch, the repairs that transformed broken vessels into stronger, more resilient beings. And so, the quiet station that once whispered only to Earth now echoed across the galaxy, heralding a new dawn. After the first miraculous repair, the news spread like wildfire through the dark reaches of space. One ship arrived at Terran Station Aegis. Then 2. Then a dozen. Soon, the quiet outpost found itself overwhelmed, a waiting list growing longer by the hour. From the swirling clouds of the Tellery drift came the slime floaters, creatures whose bodies shimmered like liquid glass, drifting effortlessly through their hover pods. Their vessels, organic and pulsating softly with bioluminescence, sought the Terran touch to heal wounds no other could mend. From the storm-racked skies of Arx 9, plasma pilots roared in blazing crafts, their engines crackling with energy. They too waited patiently, drawn by whispers of a repair unlike any other. And then there were the crystal-born dignified emissaries cloaked in shimmering robes that caught the station's faint light and turned it to 1,000 colors. Their ships gleamed like precious stones, each one unique, fragile, and precious. They came from countless worlds, speaking many tongues, but all carried the same hope, the same desperate plea, to experience what they call the Terran method. Juno Rice, the station's cultural liaison, observed the growing crowd with a mixture of awe and amusement. She often found herself translating alien expressions into human words, trying to understand what made Earth's repair crews so sought after. "They say humans are chaotic," Juno told Rena one quiet evening, her voice low as they shared a moment away from the bustle. "Unpredictable. Genius in their madness. Always surprising, and incredibly effective." Rena smiled, rubbing the grease from her hands onto her worn jacket. "Guess that's what happens when you grow up fixing satellites with nothing but bottle caps and determination." They shared a quiet laugh, but beneath it lay a truth: in chaos, there was creativity. In desperation, there was invention. And in humanity's imperfections, there was a spark that even the most advanced civilizations could not ignore. The rhythm of the station was abruptly changed by the arrival of a new visitor, one unlike any they had seen before. A massive dreadnought from the distant Cyrax Dominion slowly approached the docking bay, its dark hull stretching like a spear across the void. The ship carried the weight of ancient power, its name whispered with reverence and fear across countless star systems. At its heart was a secret, an engine of unparalleled complexity, a quantum helm that guided the ship through the impossible folds of space and time. But now, this precious core was failing. Captain Narek, tall and skeletal, with eyes that seemed to see beyond the physical world, stepped forward and requested the aid of Rena and her team. His calm presence was both intimidating and oddly serene, as though he carried the burdens of centuries without complaint. Inside the helm chamber, a soft glow pulsed rhythmically, a living light that shimmered and shifted, casting strange patterns against the smooth walls. The orb at the center seemed almost aware, its surface rippling in subtle waves, like the breath of a sleeping giant. Tessa Wren, the station's keen systems analyst, approached the orb with cautious curiosity. Her voice was barely a whisper as she spoke, "It's shifting, like it knows we're watching." A chill passed through the room as Dr. Kellen Maris, a xenobiologist brought in to study this strange phenomenon, joined her. He studied the glowing sphere with wide eyes, his fingers tracing unseen patterns in the air. "It's not just technology," he said slowly. "It's semi-organic. It learns. It reacts. It's alive in a way we barely understand." Rena's mind reeled with the revelation. For years, they had treated ships like machines, complex, but cold and predictable. But this was different. This was not a mere device to be fixed or replaced. She looked around the chamber and whispered, "We've been treating these as circuits, but they are closer to living systems." The truth hung heavy in the air. These ships breathed. They felt. They grew. And now, their fate was intertwined with the hands that would care for them. They faced a challenge unlike any before: how to heal what was not simply broken, but alive in ways they had never imagined. Traditional repairs, cold and mechanical, would only harm the delicate balance of the quantum helm. To touch it was to risk destroying the very soul of the ship. So, with great care and reverence, Rena and her team set aside their old ways. They embraced a new path, one of healing, not replacing. They learned to listen to the subtle rhythms within the helm, to feel its pulses and whispers. Instead of swapping parts, they coaxed the damaged sections to regrow, weaving strength where there had been weakness. They aligned the fragile energy fields, balancing them as one might nurture a fragile living thing. Each adjustment was slow, deliberate, guided by intuition as much as by science. Day by day, the helm began to respond. Its glow brightened. The pulses steadied. Energy flowed more freely, like blood rushing through healed veins. The results were astonishing. The ship's performance surged, rising 15% beyond its original capabilities. It was no longer just repaired. It was renewed. Transformed. Captain Narek watched with quiet awe, the skeletal lines of his face softening for the first time since arrival. "You have succeeded," he said slowly, voice filled with respect and wonder, "where our ancients, keepers of all our knowledge, have failed." He stepped forward and extended an invitation rare and precious. "To the Dominion Genesis vaults. Come. See where our ships are born, and learn the truths long hidden from those beyond our walls." The invitation was more than an honor. It was a call to the heart of the mysteries that bound their fates together, a gateway to understanding a future none had dared to dream. On Cyrex Prime, beneath skies painted in hues no Terran eye had ever named, Rena stepped quietly into the heart of the Dominion's greatest secret. Around her stretched vast halls of crystal, so clear and pure they seemed to capture the light of the twin suns and hold it within their shining depths. The air hummed softly, alive with unseen energy that whispered of creation and ancient power. This was no ordinary shipyard. Here, starships were not built by hands or machines. They were grown. Born like living beings from the very essence of the planet itself. Within giant crystalline wombs, smooth and translucent like frozen water, small seed-like forms floated weightlessly. They pulsed with an inner life, vibrating gently in rhythm with waves of bioresonance that threaded through intricate memory lattices hidden deep within their cores. These lattices held the histories and possibilities of each vessel, echoes of all that was and all that might be. Rena watched in awe as one of these seeds began to swell, its form unfolding like a flower opening to the Sunday. Hull plates shimmered into existence, engines coalesced from strands of glowing energy, and delicate wings unfurled with a grace that was both natural and otherworldly. The ship grew with purpose and intention, a living symphony of science and spirit entwined. Beside her, Arch-Foreman Siluan moved with measured steps, his eyes glowing faintly with the knowledge of centuries. His voice was calm, yet carried the weight of profound truth as he spoke. "Every ship here carries a soul print," he said, gesturing to the growing vessels around them. "A unique signature that marks its essence, its life and destiny." He turned to face Rena, his gaze steady and sincere. To repair such a vessel requires more than skill. It demands understanding, intuition, empathy. To listen to the ship's voice beneath the metal and light. Rena felt the truth of his words settle deep within her. Here, in this place where living and machine intertwined, the art of repair transcended mechanics. It became a sacred dance, a communion between healer and patient. "You, Terran," Siluan continued, "repair not with cold tools alone. You bring your spirit, your creativity, your heart. That is rare among the stars." In that moment, Rena understood that her journey was only beginning. The path ahead would challenge everything she thought she knew about machines, life, and the fragile threads that bind them together. Back on Terran Station Aegis, an unsettling shadow began to stretch over the once peaceful halls. The air, usually filled with the steady hum of machines and quiet determination of the repair crews, grew thick with tension. Whispers floated like ghosts between metal walls, and faces once calm now wore the weight of unseen pressure. From the heart of the Galactic Concord came a dark tide, a force not of stars or warriors, but of cold authority and rigid control. The Concord Trade Bureau, the guardians of rules and trade, had turned their gaze sharply toward the humble station. Inspector Delvastor arrived like a storm wrapped in bureaucracy. His 6 eyes scanned every corner with unyielding scrutiny, and his voice cut through the corridors like steel on stone. "You are modifying proprietary life technology without authorization," he declared with grim finality. "Cease all alien repairs immediately, or face severe sanctions." The words hung heavy, like a guillotine's shadow. It was not a threat born from concern for safety or order, it was something darker, more calculated. Havencore, the station's director, met the inspector's cold stare without flinching. His voice was steady but edged with bitter truth. "This isn't about technology," Haven said quietly, "it's about profit margins." He looked around the room at the hard-working Terran repair crews, people who fixed ships with ingenuity and heart, who gave broken vessels a second chance without demands for exorbitant fees or endless contracts. They were too effective, too durable, too free. Their repairs broke a system built on dependency, on planned obsolescence, on control. And those who thrived on power and profit would not let it stand. The shadows thickened, stretching their fingers into every corner of the station, whispering of battles yet to come, not of weapons or warships, but of wills and survival. The weight of impending threat loomed heavily over Terran Station Aegis, yet Rena Solis refused to bow to fear or silence. Standing before the glow of the station's communication core, she poured her heart into a single message, broadcasting it across every channel that could carry her voice to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. It was a call for unity, a plea for solidarity, an invitation to all the captains, crews, and wanderers her team had once helped to come forward, not as seekers of repair, but as defenders of a new hope. The message traveled like a wildfire through the void, threading its way from system to system, carried by whispers and waves, reaching ears eager for change. And the galaxy responded. One ship came first, sleek and shimmering, a solitary beacon against the darkness. Then 2. Then dozens. Then fleets. Vessels of every shape, every form, emerged from the shadows, craft of bioluminescent glow, massive hulls scarred by countless battles, and fragile ships that glimmered like glass. They came from distant stars, from worlds woven of crystal and gas, from realms known and unknown. They came not to mend broken engines or patch torn hulls but to stand beside Terrans, to unite beneath a banner of defiance and hope. The quiet station thrummed with a newfound energy. The air, once still and weighed down by unease, now sparkled with life, the mingled voices of countless species, the hum of alliance and shared purpose. Among them stood Captain Veltrix, the towering Varelian whose many eyes gleamed with quiet pride and profound gratitude. His voice rose above the crowd, steady and filled with meaning. "You healed more than vessels," he declared. "You restored connection not just of metal and power, but between beings, between hearts and hopes." In that moment, something ancient and powerful was born, a movement that pulsed not with politics or profit, but with a raw, unyielding force of healing and unity. They named it the right to repair Concord, a promise, a pledge that no ship, no soul, would ever be left broken or forgotten. That the ability to heal and renew would belong to all, not just to the few who held power. And as ships from countless galaxies lined the docks, side by side with the Terrans, the dark shadows of control and greed began to waver. A new light rose, a light that whispered of freedom, resilience, and a future forged together. The colossal ring of unity drifted in the endless black, a monument to alliance and authority where the galaxy's most powerful gathered to weigh the fate of many. Inside its gleaming halls, tension crackled like electric current, filling the air with unspoken fears and fierce determination. Voices rose and fell in heated debate, the words sharp and pointed. Corporate delegates, dressed in immaculate uniforms and adorned with insignia of influence, spoke with cold precision. They painted grim pictures of danger, warning of chaos unleashed by the Terrans' unorthodox repairs. Their arguments were not born of care for safety, but of deep-rooted fear of losing control, of watching their empires crumble beneath the weight of a new power rising from an unassuming repair station. Across the chamber, the Terrans stood quietly resolute. Their faces showed fatigue but also unbreakable hope. When it was their turn, they spoke not just with facts, but with passion, a plea for freedom. The freedom to heal, to restore, to protect life without being shackled by profit or political games. They spoke of the right to repair, to choose who mends what is broken. One after another, ship captains took the stand. Their voices wove a tapestry of stories that transcended mere testimony. They told of surviving storms that had torn through sectors like wildfires, of ships enduring far beyond their expected lifespans, of repairs born not from sterile parts, but from instinct, creativity, and care. Their words filled the chamber with a living pulse, a testament to resilience, to hope, to a shared future. When Captain Narek stepped forward, silence settled over the room. Tall and serene, his skeletal frame commanded attention not through force, but through quiet dignity. His voice, calm and steady, carried the weight of ages and the sincerity of experience. "Terrans taught us that care is a kind of engineering," he said softly, eyes scanning the assembly. "Not just the cold assembly of parts, but the tending of life itself." His words echoed through the chamber, lingering long after he finished. In that moment, the walls of power and prejudice seemed to soften. For a brief, shining instant, all who listened glimpsed a future where technology and compassion were entwined, a future where the strength of the stars was measured not by steel alone, but by the hearts that cared for it. The final judgment unfolded slowly, like the gentle rise of a new sun after a long, dark night. Days of quiet discussion and intense deliberation had passed, and now the decision lay before all who waited with bated breath. It was a verdict not only about machines and technology but about trust, freedom, and the future itself. The right to repair was declared universal, no longer a privilege reserved for a chosen few or a single species, but a right open to all who sailed the stars. From the smallest trader to the mightiest cruiser, every vessel and every crew could seek healing wherever skilled hands were ready to offer it, regardless of origin or allegiance. Ancient secrets, long hoarded in locked vaults and whispered only in shadows, were to be shared carefully and respectfully. The vital biodata, the living essence woven into the heart of the most advanced starships, would flow through channels of honor and responsibility. Knowledge, once a tool of control and power, would become a bridge connecting worlds, cultures, and hopes. Out of this shared vision arose a new beacon, a place unlike any before, the Galactic Bioengineering Institute. Here, science would meet spirit. Technicians and scholars from countless species would gather to learn, to teach, and to nurture the fragile, living connection between ship and crew. Back on Terran Station Aegis, the changes were profound. The once modest, weathered station bloomed into a vibrant center of knowledge and unity. The halls, once filled with quiet whispers and lonely footsteps, now resonated with lively voices from across the galaxy. Students hunched over ancient schematics, engineers exchanged ideas, and travelers shared tales of survival and hope. No longer was Aegis just a repair dock battered by time, it was a sanctuary, a cradle of peace, a forge where possibilities sparkled brighter than the stars. Differences were celebrated, and the vast potential of cooperation stretched endlessly, as infinite as the cosmos. And at the heart of this new era stood humanity, not merely as repairers of broken things, but as healers of the galaxy itself. They bridged the distance between worlds with compassion, creativity, and an unshakable hope that together, all beings could rise and soar beyond the limits of the stars. Rena stood silently on the observation deck, gazing out over the vast expanse of the new Academy Bay below. The space was alive with a quiet hum of activity. Students from countless worlds moved gracefully among one another, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Beings woven from pure light shimmered alongside creatures of crystalline beauty, while others made of shifting matter floated gently in patterns of thought and energy. Here, boundaries blurred, and differences faded, replaced by a shared purpose and a deep sense of belonging. As Rena watched, Captain Veltrix passed by. No longer the distant visitor she once met, he now wore the robes of a professor, his many eyes reflecting the wisdom of years and the soft glow of knowledge imparted. His presence was calm yet commanding, a symbol of the bridge built between worlds. From somewhere beyond the bustle, the voice of Captain Narek echoed in her mind, calm, reverent, and full of truth. "You did not fix ships, Rena Solis. You reminded us how to evolve." Those words settled within her like a gentle tide, a recognition that what they had begun was not mere repair, but transformation of ships, of people, of the galaxy itself. What started as a single broken stabilizer, seemingly small and fragile, had sparked a vast awakening. Across the stars, amid the chaos of patchwork fixes and human ingenuity born from necessity, a new light had kindled. Humanity, with its imperfections and relentless spirit, had found its true purpose. This was more than survival. This was hope. This was unity. This was the beginning of a new chapter, one written not just in metal and energy, but in connection, compassion, and the endless possibility of the cosmos. That was the story of how a small station orbiting Earth became the heart of a galactic revolution. From healing living ships to challenging ancient powers, humanity's creativity and compassion opened doors no one thought possible. What will the future hold for Terran engineers and the countless worlds now standing together? If you enjoyed this journey, hit like and subscribe for more stories where humans rise beyond the stars. And please tell us in the comments, what part of this story inspired you? What would you do if you were standing on Terran Station Aegis? We can't wait to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep dreaming beyond the galaxy.